In the hidden corners of the city, where poverty and hardship seem like constant companions, Jake, a 13-year-old boy, lives with his mother and younger sister in a small, run-down apartment. The peeling walls and cracked tiles tell the story of the struggles they've endured over the years. But Jake never complains. Despite his young age, he understands that his mother, Susan, is carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders. Every day, she fights to keep their little family from being swept away by the tides of hardship. That morning, faint sunlight filtered through the thin curtains, gently waking Jake from his short sleep. He quietly got out of bed, careful not to disturb his younger sister, who was still curled up on a small mattress beside him. From the cramped kitchen, Jake could hear his mother speaking in hushed tones over the phone. From her words, it was clear she was trying to convince their landlord to extend their overdue rent payment. Jake's heart tightened, but he chose to stay silent, focusing instead on getting ready for school. His lunch was modest, a simple sandwich with a thin layer of peanut butter wrapped carefully in an old lunchbox. It wasn't much, but it was enough to keep him going until dinner. "Good morning, Mom," Jake said, forcing a cheerful smile as he stepped out of the room. Susan returned the smile, but the weariness in her eyes was hard to miss. As Jake walked along the familiar streets on his way to school, the signs of struggle were everywhere. Cracked sidewalks, dilapidated houses with peeling paint, and sagging fences lining the streets. These sights had become part of Jake's daily life, but he didn't pay them much mind. His focus was on getting to school and making it through another day. As he approached the school grounds, Jake noticed an older man sitting on the side of the street, leaning against a brick wall. His clothes were wrinkled and worn, his eyes hollow and tired. Jake slowed his steps, his gaze locking with the man's. There was something about the man's posture, the way his hands rested limply on his knees, that struck a chord deep in Jake's heart. He recognized the look. It was the same weary expression he often saw in his mother when she thought no one was watching. Jake felt the weight of his lunchbox in his hand. His stomach growled, reminding him of how much he needed that sandwich to get through the day. But as he stood there, he couldn't ignore the gnawing feeling inside him. The man needed it more. Jake walked over, opened his lunchbox, and took out the sandwich. Handing it to the man, he said softly, "I think you need this more than I do." The man looked at Jake, his hands trembling as he accepted the sandwich. He didn't say a word, but his eyes, now glistening with gratitude, spoke volumes. Jake nodded and walked away, his stomach still empty, but his heart feeling strangely full. That small act of kindness, seemingly insignificant in the grand scheme of things, set into motion a series of events that Jake could never have imagined. What followed next would change his life and his family's forever. You see, sometimes a small act can make a big difference. If this story has touched your heart in any way, join us in spreading these beautiful values. Don't forget to hit subscribe on Life Stories 365 to explore more meaningful stories with us. We believe that every story holds a lesson, and every lesson has the power to change lives. Leave a comment, share your thoughts, and become part of a community that cherishes kindness and compassion. The next morning, as Jake was getting ready for school, sunlight trickled through the old curtains of his modest apartment. He quietly packed his usual peanut butter sandwich into his lunchbox. But just as he closed the lid, the sound of a car engine outside caught his attention. Jake looked out the window to see a shiny, luxurious car parked right in front of his house. A man stepped out of the car, and to Jake's astonishment, it was the same elderly man he had helped the previous day. But he looked completely different now. Dressed in a well-tailored suit, his posture confident and composed, he radiated authority and grace. Jake froze in surprise as the man smiled at him warmly. "Jake, right?" The man said kindly, "I'm Walter. I came here to thank you for your kindness yesterday." Before Jake could say anything, his mother, Susan, stepped out of the house, her face filled with confusion and curiosity. Walter greeted her politely and explained that he wasn't actually homeless, but had been conducting an experiment to see if genuine kindness still existed in today's world. "Your son," Walter said, turning to Jake, "did something that not many people would dare to do. He shared his only meal with someone he thought was in need, even though he himself had so little." Jake felt his cheeks flush with embarrassment as Walter recounted his actions in front of his mother. But Susan's eyes filled with pride as she looked at her son. Walter continued, "I want to help your family, not out of pity, but as a way to honor the goodness that still exists in this world." Jake reminded me that kindness is alive and well, even in the most unexpected places. Walter invited both Susan and Jake to sit down as he shared his plan. He wanted to sponsor Jake to enroll in a special program designed for talented children, where he could learn new skills and pursue his passions. Additionally, Walter offered to help Susan find a stable job, one that could provide a more secure future for their family. "This isn't charity," Walter emphasized. "It's an opportunity for you to stand on your own feet and create a better life for yourselves." Susan was overwhelmed with emotion, her eyes welling up with tears. She stammered, "But why us? There's nothing special about my family." Walter smiled gently. "You're wrong. Your son showed me that true kindness comes from the heart, not from material wealth, and that makes your family very special." Within a week, Jake began attending the program Walter had recommended. On his first day, as he entered the state-of-the-art facility, he felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. This place was nothing like his old school. The classrooms were equipped with modern technology, and the teachers were enthusiastic and approachable. Despite his initial hesitation, Jake quickly felt welcomed. Walter frequently visited the center to check on Jake's progress and offer encouragement, which boosted Jake's confidence tremendously. At the same time, Susan started her new job at a small store, which Walter had helped her secure. Though the job didn't pay a lot, it provided a steady income and, more importantly, renewed her sense of self-worth. Each evening, Susan would come home and share stories from her day, her laughter and optimism filling their once somber apartment. Jake noticed that his mother smiled more often now, a sight he hadn't seen in years. At the Learning Center, Jake wasn't just taught traditional subjects. He also participated in community-building activities. One day, his instructor, Mr. Carter, asked the students to come up with ideas to help people in need. Inspired by his experience with Walter, Jake proposed a small project, organizing a food drive for the homeless in the city. The class embraced Jake's idea, and with Walter's support, they launched a campaign to collect donations. On the first day of the food drive, as Jake and his classmates distributed meals to homeless individuals, he felt an immense sense of fulfillment. The smiles and gratitude he received reminded him of the joy of giving and the profound impact of even small acts of kindness. One afternoon, as Jake returned home, he saw his mother holding a letter with trembling hands. Her eyes glistened with tears of joy as she read aloud the contents. It was an invitation for her to join a vocational training program, fully funded by Walter. The program promised to equip her with new skills and open the door to better job opportunities in the future. Jake hugged his mother tightly, sharing her happiness. "We can do this, Mom," Jake said with optimism. "We're going to make it through." Before long, Jake's family began to experience noticeable improvements in their lives. They no longer worried about overdue rent, their dinners became more substantial, and most importantly, a sense of peace settled into their home. One morning, as Jake was getting ready for school, his mother placed a hand on his shoulder and said, "Jake, I'm so proud of you. You've taught me that with kindness and determination, we can overcome anything." Jake smiled, adjusting the strap of his backpack. He realized that not only had he changed his own life, but he had also inspired those around him. His journey was far from over. It was just beginning. Jake's story is a vivid reminder that even the smallest act of kindness can lead to monumental changes. A simple gesture of sharing his only sandwich with a stranger sparked transformations that Jake and his family had never dared to dream of. But this story is not just about receiving help. It's a profound reminder of the value of giving and the true essence of kindness. Walter, the man Jake initially believed to be homeless, not only helped Jake's family escape their struggles, but also opened the door to a brighter future. By sponsoring Jake to join a special educational program and assisting his mother, Susan, in finding a stable job, Walter gave them the opportunity to stand strong on their own. Yet it was Jake who inspired Walter, reminding him that compassion still exists in this world. Jake learned that even the smallest action can have a significant impact, but he also realized that kindness should be shared. During his time at the Learning Center, Jake continuously sought ways to help his community. The food drive campaign for the homeless that he initiated didn't just bring joy to the recipients, but also inspired his classmates, demonstrating that together we can achieve extraordinary things. Susan, Jake's mother, transformed from a weary woman burdened by worry into someone filled with renewed confidence and hope. With Walter's support, she attended vocational training, gradually regaining her self-assurance and envisioning a better life for her family. For the first time in years, she saw the future not as an impenetrable wall, but as an open door waiting to be walked through. Jake's story serves as a powerful reminder that miracles don't always come from wealth or power. They come from compassion, empathy, and small but sincere actions. Jake wasn't the only one who learned from this experience. All of us can take something away from it. It reminds us that in a world that can sometimes feel cold and indifferent, we can still make a difference by acting from the heart. If this story has touched your heart, help spread its message to others. Don't forget to hit subscribe on Life Stories 365, where we share inspiring stories like this every day. By joining us, you're not just a viewer, you're part of a community that believes in bringing kindness and love to the world. Leave your thoughts in the comments section, and let's work together to create a better world, one story at a time.